Thanks for joining us for another episode of Seeing Live, and I'm Colion Noir. And today, we're talking to TV's gun guru and senior curator of the NRA Museum, Philip Schreier. So what's going on, Philip?
Not much. How are you this evening? It's great to be on the show. I appreciate you asking.
Absolutely. It's good to have you. Good to have you. I'm definitely going to be picking your brain here today because I'm pretty sure you're just filled with a wealth of knowledge. So talk to me. How did you get into guns?
Boy, I think I was just born that way. I was a little kid. It was G.I. Joes. It was cowboy pistols, watching Combat Rat Patrol and, everything like that on television and fall in love with movies and TV shows that were historically based. And when I was 5, I found out I was related to a famous Civil War general, and from there my interest in history just went, right off the charts. And military history mixes pretty good with guns.
Yeah.
And that's where it went.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you the chicken before the chicken or the egg question. So if you had to parse it out, which came first, your love for history or your love for firearms? Or did they kind of happen and almost kind of?
I think probably the gun part of the history, the uniforms and the guns.
Uh-huh.
And then I knew I liked that stuff. I didn't know why or for what, reason. It's still like a 5-year-old kid. I had plastic soldiers and G.I. Joes. And then it was, learning about, okay, well, this is a World War I deal, or this is World War II, and learning the difference between the two and all the interesting reasons behind them. One of the things that I was really frustrated with as a kid
Uh-huh.
was in class they would say, okay, we're going to study the Revolutionary War next week.
Yeah.
And we'd spend 4 out of 5 days discussing the causes of the Revolutionary War. And I was like, no, I want to hear about Saratoga and Brandywine and Monmouth. I want to know what happened at Yorktown and how the surrender went down. And they're like, no, we have to talk about taxes and tea parties. And I'm like, So it was my interest in wanting to know more about the grisly, details of the, who won which battle, where, and why. That was what drove me to it.
It's interesting because I'm a bit of a history buff from the standpoint that I'm a consumer of it. Like I love to learn about it. Could I spit it out to you verbatim? No, but I recently just started playing a game called Battlefield 1 where it starts and it's all about World War One. All of the guns, everything. It's just down to the T. And I remember growing up being fascinated by the historical wars, World War I, World War II, in the same way, much in the same way that you were. I wanted to know about the historical battles that took place, the firearms that were used. And it wasn't so much my glorification of the violence aspect of it, but there was just something about it that I just found incredibly fascinating. I just really, to this day, haven't been able to put my finger on it. Even before I got into guns, I wanted to know all about the different battles, the wars, and everything. I can't explain it even now.
Yeah, same way. And the best part of it for me is that now that this interest is almost 50 years old in me,
Mm-hmm.
I still find things that are electrifying. That still excite me. I haven't run out of periods or personalities or toys that really just spin me up like a 10-year-old the night before Christmas. And
Yeah.
so that's still going on. And I'm very thankful that I still have that obsessive gene still kicks in and makes getting up in the morning really exciting.
I can't think of anything more of a motivator than just having just an undying passion for something. And so I'm right there with you. If I didn't have the passion I have for this, I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be really bored. But
yeah.
So now let's talk about your position at the NRA Firearms Museum. How did you become the curator?
It was kind of an accident. It's a funny story, to tell you the truth. I had been working at the Boy Scout camp that serves the Washington, D.C. area for a number of years,
Mm-hmm.
Goshen Scout camps, and I love working down there with the field sports and teaching the scouts how to shoot and work. And it was where I first learned how to even handle a gun. The first gun I ever touched was at Scout camp.
Wow.
And there was a gentleman that was one of the council camping inspectors that certified the camp that I got to know, and he was a division director at NRA. And so every year I would go over to his office and put in a new resume saying, I got to work, I want to work here. And I kind of crossed my fingers and hoped that he said nothing this year, come back later, because I really wanted to go back to camp and work there for the summer. It was one of those deals where I enjoyed working in the summer, and the job I had from September to June was just a filler job, for my real
Yeah.
job. Yeah. And but one summer he called me. I was actually working the night shift in a shopping mall at a cigar store, and a good buddy of mine answers the phone. We both worked at camp together, and he says, Dr. Kennedy's on the line. And so I take Dr. Kennedy's call, and he says, Phil, I've got this job for you at the NRA. And I mean, I just started to feel like I was beginning to float right where I And he said, it's at the museum. And then my balloon kept getting bigger. I was like, oh, the museum, yes. He says, it's Saturdays from 10 to 4, and it's just Saturday and Sunday. You'll just be opening and closing the museum on the weekends and running the little gift shop and working in the museum.
Yeah.
And I was like, every weekend? And he was like, yeah, every weekend. And I had just read for a part in a movie that Ron Maxwell was directing called Gettysburg.
Uh-huh.
And I was supposed to be the character Walter Taylor. That would have been Martin Sheen's adjutant, on camera, and had a few speaking lines in the film. And it was an epic Civil War battle that Ted Turner produced. And I was like, I could get like $125, $150 a day for a couple months doing this movie, or I could give up reenacting for the rest of my life and go to work in a gift shop on the weekends. And so my buddy looks at me, right? I had known him for a number of years. He says, you know what? We gotta grow up. We both gotta grow up. We gotta get real jobs. And who knows, that's a foot in the door.
Yeah, true.
And sure enough, that was 28 years ago.
Wow.
And I quickly went from weekends to full time within like 6 weeks. And a few months later, I was an assistant curator. When I got promoted within that 6 months, I turned around to my buddy that had been working at the cigar store with me, and I said, all right, you need to take my job, which was on the weekends. No, that's when we go out and play. I go, no, we got to get real jobs and grow up.
Yeah, right.
So I drag him in the door behind me. Well, again, that was 27 years ago, and his name's Mark Keefe, and he's the editor-in-chief of American Rifleman magazine right now. So, awesome. All things really work out. And it was a bit of kismet that struck when that phone call rang in that cigar store in Bethesda, Maryland, some 28 years ago. It was a lucky lightning strike.
That is awesome. That's an incredible story. Now, with your passion for what you do, I have to ask, what's the one thing that you don't like about it?
One thing I don't like about it is getting here at 8:30 in the morning. It's a job I love to go to.
Uh-huh.
I don't lay in bed dreading getting out of bed in the morning. I just, for whatever reason, I've never been a morning person. So I ask their forgiveness, and I'm not generally here at 8:30, but then again, I'm not the first person to leave at 5 o'clock either.
Gotcha.
And work a lot of hours, on the road on the weekends and stuff, doing exhibits and taking displays around the country. So I've got a fair bit of comp time, around 3,500 hours in the bank right now. So we're good for about 2.5 years if I need to take some time off.
Good to know. Good to know. So, really quickly, what does the like a regular everyday look like in your life being a curator?
Well, right now it involves coming in and working on writing projects. We're trying to re-sign all the cases in the museum, so writing up new text labels for the collections, answering the dozens of emails we get. So I just try and work through those real fast. What year was this gun made? What is this worth? How do I find out more information on a on a grade 2 featherweight LC Smith shotgun that says Hunter Arms on the barrel, things like that. Then later on this week, next month, I'll be working on renovating a case on Hollywood guns, and we'll be redoing that entire exhibit, tearing the whole thing out, reconstructing it with new supports and mounts and backdrops and new guns, so that it'll still be Hollywood gun themed. You'll see some of the favorites like Dirty Harry's 44 Magnum and John Wayne's 92 Winchester lever actions. But we're going to have a neat additions. We actually have a girls on film corner coming up with Keira Knightley and Angelina Jolie and a couple of other femme fatales and some of the guns that they used.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. I give tours when asked. Sometimes we'll get the museum doesn't generally give guided tours, but we'll get a call from upstairs that'll say, "Hey, can you help us out?" And I'm happy to do that. And a decent tour, is about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've been known to really get into it if the audience is with me, and I can go 3 hours, just talking about stuff as we walk around. So, not every day am I polishing, a Luger, putting shine on a Smith & Wesson, but, it involved. The nice thing about the job is never the same day twice.
Gotcha. Yep. Can't be mad at that at all. But we're going to take a quick break real quick, and then when we come back, we'll continue to speak with Philip about some more of his interesting life as a curator of the NRA Museum, as well as what he does on Gun Gurus.